Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Don't Be a Man About It. Today, my guest has a story that I'm sure a lot of men would resonate with. When it comes to ending a marriage or ending a relationship, how would a man process what he's going through? Whether it was by his emotions or his feelings, or maybe his self doubts, anything that a man would go through, but he never talks about it. My guest here today is going to share with us his experience and what came after it. My guest, Ramez Helou, one of the leading authorities on sales leadership in the region, is here with me today. Ramez, hi.
Hi, Rahaf, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So, Ramez, before we, dig into the topic, I want to ask you something. How is your heart doing today?
It's going great. It's fantastic.
So, when you say great, could you elaborate on that? What is great?
I guess it's a feeling of gratitude. It's a feeling of accomplishments. It's a feeling of being being, I would say, thankful for what I have. I'll share with you a small story. Yesterday, I was at Hult teaching a class, a sales class. Now, my 24-year-old is in the class. He graduated his master's. I told him, why don't you come and join? He graduated in sports rehabilitation therapy. And he got to sell himself and his services, and they didn't prepare him on that. I said, you just got to come to class. So he's in class, attending it virtually. I'm live, he's virtual. And then I asked my other son, the 22-year-old, who is in Houston, Texas, who already is working in sales, to come and be a guest speaker to talk about prospecting. So he's the father. Here I am, and my one son is in the class. The other son is talking, and I'm just sitting there enjoying the moment. I mean, that was one of the highlights. I don't think I visualized that, when the boys were growing up, that would one day this happen. And that was a beautiful thing. So that's what I went to sleep with yesterday and woke up with today. That's why. And normally there's a lot of these I guess I have been I have experienced thinking of what's not going well in my life, and that becomes the last thing I go through. I go to bed with, and what happens afterwards in the morning, and I experience what it's like to go thinking of what is going well in my life and how the next day happens after that. So I would rather take the latter than the
Yeah.
first one.
100.
you know
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I could hear it in your tone how this is bringing you a lot of joy and pride. This is beautiful. And for you to be a father of two sons, you also feel like you want the best versions of them to always be improving and nourishing. So I guess last night was a proof of that.
and by the way, it's four sons, so I have
Four sons.
two new ones. This is one of them, and the other one I have to still get his picture in. So it's another 7-month old and almost a 3-year-old. They are just another ball of joy.
God bless them. So,
Thank you.
having said that, this is now you are currently in your second marriage.
Yeah, it is the marriage.
The marriage.
That's it.
It's the
That's it.
one. The one.
That's it.
I like the
Yes.
distinction.
Well, there is no more numbers. I can forget about it. This is it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, Ramis,
Yes.
could you share with us a little bit, as much as you would feel comfortable, of course, about your first experience and what are the things that you went through emotionally after the marriage ended?
Mhm. Um, so we're talking almost 9 years ago, right? 9 years ago, 2012. And I think maybe the coming to that realization, coming to that conversation my wife and I had, right? And then hearing the words, I want out. What do you mean? It was, at first, it's definitely shock, denial. It's like, what do you mean impossible? I mean, after everything we've been together, and at the time, we were married for almost 15 years, and there's all these emotions. Then there's shock, anger. Okay, then it calms down. Then it comes back again, and then I try to talk. I try to kind of fix things, and then the realization happened that, okay, I think she had made the decision way before, and it was only a matter of time that she was actually sharing this information with me, So I can look back at it now and say, okay, fine, it happened. But in the moment, it was very, it was heavy. It was heavy. Maybe I can talk a bit about. No, I'll pause here, see if you wanna maybe dig a bit.
No, so this is basically for you. And I'm really grateful that you are here with me today, because I get to talk with a lot of men from the Middle East, Arab men, and they are going through almost the same thing that you are, or you went through 9 years ago, but they do not talk about it. And mostly it's because of fear of being judged or shamed or belittled, or to be told to man up. It's fine. You'll get used to it. You just get another wife. So what you have just shared is really important, especially how you took us through the stages of your emotions. I was in denial. Then I became in shock. Then I was angry, and then this, and then went through it again, and then heaviness.
Yeah.
So how would heaviness look like or feel like for a man?
Heaviness in terms of, once I realized maybe that, okay, my wife, or that relationship, the way that it was not to be salvaged. From my side, I was 100% committed. And you know what? From her side, probably she was. And at one point in time, something happened and she lost. She just kind of, again, I believe that it's not a one-sided thing. It's both sides. So whatever emotions she must have gone through as well, probably I've triggered them, not knowing I've triggered them. And I think one of the most stupidest thing is that we didn't talk about it. It was until it was too late, and then it just exploded. So when it exploded, and maybe she was at a different stage, I realized that, okay, it was not going to work. The next thing was the kids. The next thing that I thought of was how do I make sure that the boys are, at the time, Alex and Chris, the big ones I talk about now. How do I tell them this? How do we tell them this? How do we ensure that they you know, that they continue uh, feel that they are loved by both mom and dad, that they are not responsible, that it's beyond them. And it was, I guess it was one of the heaviest moments, you know, just bringing them together, and together with her at the time, just having that conversation. And I remember it was something like, you know, sometimes you know, you disagree with your brother, and you know, and then things continue. So mom and I have disagreed on certain things, and we're just gonna continue. The only thing is, mom has decided to move out, and she's gonna be around. You'll stay where you are. You'll be living with me. And they were like, why? That's like, okay, don't ask why, Habibi. That was, you know, that was mentioned, and that was heavy. That was really like a very difficult moment. And then I guess once the kids were there, and again, this is now 9 years later, everything is like flash, you know, fast forward. And I remember times where my kids would actually come and they'll tell me, Papa, are you okay? So they would see me maybe sad. They would see me, you know, lonely. They would, all these feelings, they would come and they would want to console me. And that was great. You know, when mom and dad were at home, mom had a role, I had a role, and I guess I got closer to my boys as a result of this situation, because now I needed to do more things. I needed to be more around, and in a way, I would say I feel. Again, looking at the silver lining, looking at the positive things and things. So that got me closer to the boys, right? It's not that I wasn't, but I became closer to them than I was before, as you know, simple pickups and delivery to school, right? Um, so their mom was a teacher, so the morning routine was she would be the one taking them. Now I'm the one taking them, and I continue. And you know, and that time in the car, you know, sometimes it's 5-10 minutes, but it's really cherished time. You know, time at night, they come, they're doing their things. I'm doing my thing. So again, getting us closer together. So I've been around. So you tell me I've been all over. You know, I've just babbled here. So that was just different bits and pieces.
Um, for some reason, what's coming or what's showing up right now is a man's confidence is very important, and a man's ego is very important. When he tends to find the right balance between both, that's when we see the man at his best version of himself, because he has the tools to live happily without, you know, without these things where it just sinks in like, I'm not good enough, I should do better because of this. Genuine reasons to be happy is when he finds the balance between his confidence, his ego, and of course many other aspects. How did that affect your confidence? So when your kids came to ask you, are you okay? How was your confidence about yourself as a man, as a human being, as someone with emotions and with a broken heart? How was that affecting you at that point? And did it, or so how was your confidence? And the second part of the question would be, did your ego allow you or gave you permission to ask for emotional support from anyone, whether it be it friends or even counselors?
Oh yeah. um, I So, that was a long question. Can you repeat the question? Just what I said, oh yeah, was about counselors, was about, so I remember me getting out, how I got there,
So
what
start
was
from
the tool.
there. Start from there.
So in the process, as things kind of settled down, I was going through the motions. I would say, I'm very passionate about what I do professionally, whether it's teaching at the university or speaking and training my corporate clients in the profession of sales and sales management and sales leadership. And that was my, let's say, my out. When I am in front of my clients, right? I guess I would get, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the top level is about self-actualization. And when I'm in front of my audiences, I'm all about giving them. I'm all about inspiring them, motivating them so they can take actions to change and they can see the results. So from that part, business was fine. I would say my business did not suffer, Rahav. My business actually was thriving. I was doing well. I had one of my consultants, Joan, at the time, very supportive. She was a friend I would talk with, and she is a health freak. She's a health coach. She has a site called Joan of Arc. So she's in the US right now. So she really was there to listen, to kind of support, and so that was there. But Ramez, on the personal side, I was very busy with the kids, and then there was this void.
Yeah.
And then there was this void, and funny how things have been put in a way where then I got introduced to a life coach, and I remember sitting with this lady, and it was Joan who introduced me to Michelle, and I'm like, Joan, do I really need to go to this life coach? It was like that. I'm thinking, okay, what is she going to do? I would say, I said, how old is this person? And she was maybe in her early to mid 30s, and I was, a decade ahead. I'm thinking,
what does she know about life?
How is that gonna help?
Was that just to draw out a very important thing you just highlighted, which is, was that because of the stereotyping about life coaches, or you would have preferred to work with someone like a therapist or a psychiatrist, or why was that hesitance about the life coach?
I did not know what life coaching was. So in my mind, I would want to connect with someone that would, I guess I didn't go for the life coaching. Let me tell you, I didn't go for the life coaching much for my personal well-being as much as I went for the life coaching thinking of my business well-being. I'm thinking of the business, right? I'm at first it was not described to me as life coaching. Let's put it like that. It was just like, Michelle is a coach, go talk with her. So I'm thinking the business side, and I'm thinking, what does she know? How is that going to help? But as I started talking to her, she quickly showed me the wheels of life from a business perspective and from a personal perspective. And that's when I was like, okay, they are connected. They are connected. And as we started digging, and of course, she started looking on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you say your health is, your relationships are, you're having fun. So whatever those different aspects of it. And I was like, are you having fun? And I was like, no, I'm not. I was not having fun. And then we started digging about what does fun look like and sound like to me, and what are some things I enjoy doing, what are some things. And I remember this like yesterday, and it's like I really love the beach. And she's like, well, are you going to the beach? I was like, no. And she's like, well, what's stopping you? I was like, I'm busy, I'm doing that. And she's like, well, can you take a day off? I was like, yeah. She goes, where's your calendar? I was like, okay. She's like, pick a date. And it was somewhere around this date, somewhere around this time in May. So I said, like, okay, you're going to pick a day. And then what do you like to do? It's like, I love to go on a boat. She goes, oh, why don't you go and find a boat, find like a ride or something and just go. And it was a catamaran ride, and I was like, okay, fine. So here I am by myself. I decided to go on this boat, and I go on this boat, and it was like in the middle of the week, like a Tuesday, and there was like 4 tourists, and it's me. It was actually, we were 4. It was 2 and me and 1 more person. And
how was
but
that?
then it was what started happening is I started spending time with me again. And when being in a relationship, I didn't get to spend as much time with me. So that day was a force. It was the beginning of me spending more time with me. It was the beginning of that, And here's an interesting part, Rahaf. I was sitting on this catamaran, and they were gonna go to Atlantis, and it launched from somewhere at the beginning of the Jumeirah area, Beach Road, and I'm sitting in the catamaran. I'm looking at the horizon. I'm like, I'm not seeing Atlantis. How is that gonna show up? But the interesting part is the captain just kept going. And then whoop, it started appearing at the very horizon, small and big. And that was kind of a first realization to me. I love, by the way, I love going out because, and I love how my brain starts coming up with these stories. I'm thinking, geez, and the analogy that came to mind is a lot of time in life, you're gonna go in a direction. That something, what you want is at the horizon, but when you're going, when you're en route, when you're en route, you don't see it. But you gotta have faith to keep going. And sure enough, if you do all the right things at the right time, boop, it will show up. And that was an analogy that I utilized. It wasn't just for me. It was something that became very useful. I mean, right now, people listening to this, people realizing, you know what, you gotta set yourself in a direction, and you're not gonna get there in a day, right? Just doing the things, doing what you know is right. I think one of my values is integrity. One of my values is doing what's right, help my customers first. So in sales, my wife now asked me when we first met, she wanted to, so she knew that I was the speaker, and she was like, this guy is slick. I don't know. We met through a common friend, and she just agreed to meet me just not to make the other person upset. And in that meeting, she just wanted to let him, he's not my type. And she asked me the question, she said, Ramez, so what is your secret for success in sales? And I said, honesty. She said, what? I said, honesty. How can you be successful in sales or can you be successful in anything in life without being honest? And of course, the impression that she had of sales professionals was one that they are, con artists, and they exist.
Go around things, back and forth to convince you to buy something. So that's yeah.
So again. So people think that telling a lie is a shortcut and I can get to my outcome, my desired outcome faster. Really? Do you think you can get to your desired outcome faster? Okay, if you get faster, how sustainable is that? So again, that story on the boat, going in a direction. A lot of time, what ends up happening is we're not patient enough to keep going in a direction, whether it's working with an existing relationship, working with a business partner, or working with children. Just patience. I guess patience is one of my virtues as well, and I guess yeah, different people have different levels of patience. So I stopped there. So I know I just went a little bit, so I give you time to recollect and see where you want to dig further. But that was, there was another story, that another hickey realization. I'm just trying to remember what was that second takeaway from that catamaran ride. So anyway, I did that ride, okay, and man, I felt energized after that, right? Second was playing tennis. I went to a Maidan tennis club, and I figured out, tennis, you need to have a partner. I didn't have a partner, but there was this. You go on it at a certain time, and there's a bunch of people going, and they're doing like a tennis boot camp, and you go, and we were like teams, and we were doing this, and it was just in a way getting me back into the, taking care of me,
Yeah.
taking care of me, healing, realizing that at the end, nobody can make me happy except me. That was a realization I had. It was long. It was a long realization, but it came back again. I don't know if you have time. I'll go into into a story.
It's all yours. Please share. As I'm really enjoying this. Yani, I can't even thank you enough for just putting it all out. And this is especially the part about, like, this is where I want to go, but I don't want the road to be long. I don't want things to get in my way. The all sort of limiting beliefs and obstacles where you reach a point, what, I'm not gonna do it. So you pull back. What you just said about having a leap of faith, don't be scared to be on your own or to be with yourself. It's okay. Have fun. Trust that where you're going. If you've done the right steps and the right things, then trust that things will work out. These are extremely important insights that people are scared to see. Like, they know it's there, but I don't want to. So for someone to be a living proof of that, especially a man in the Middle East, this is really, really important. So thank you. Thank you for being the change that we need in this world. So please share as many stories as you want. I'm all ears.
Rahav, as you're summarizing that, I would say I totally empathize with anyone who maybe is going through a similar situation, and this was not overnight. This was not an overnight thing, right? Um, when I spent 15 years of my life with my wife, it's a lifetime. We're best friends. We're friends. We were friends before we were, we decided to get married. And when you start realizing, who am I gonna go to the movies with? Well, okay, I'll go with the kids, but okay, we're gonna go with friends. Oh, they're gonna be together. I'm gonna be alone. So, who am I gonna go? Anyway, so I would say there's all these feeling of emptiness that of course it's gonna be there. It was there for me, and
what did you need most when you were feeling that emptiness? How would you have wanted to be supported when you were feeling lonely or empty?
How I would have loved, for it to be, to be supported, is for it not to ever have happened. But it had happened. So the next best thing is to then find the right people, the right moments to fill this void. So I'm fortunate that one of my brothers lives in Dubai, him and his family. So I felt that they were a big support for me. I told you, Joan, my one associate working with me. my children. My children's support was amazing. My parents, um, it's like, what are they gonna think? What? So there was this part,
Yeah.
and I remember my mom saying, you know what, Habibi, it's okay. It happens. It happens.
And sometimes
It's
that's
fine.
all you want to hear.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I let them down. None of that happened. It was just like, it was more in my mind than it was and I think today, um, I think the year 2021 today, yeah, 2021, people are more open
Mm.
than the year 1970 when I was born, and uh, so yeah, I think people's awareness have realized, okay, people have, they've realized that, okay, things change, and in life nothing is final unless you make it final. So there is always life. There's always, you can choose life, you can choose hope, you have a choice. You either feed the the angry wolf, or you feed the positive, wolf. And of course, the one that wins is the one that you end up feeding the most.
Wow, Ramis. Wow, okay. This story, the wolf, the can نسميه the bad wolf and the good wolf, was one of the most used stories from my dad. He would always say it to me again and again and again, just to prove that point that you will always have these two voices in your head. Can always, he would say that little fox, he used to call me little fox. Little fox, there will always be these two voices in your head, the bad wolf and the good wolf. Now, who would win? It's your choice. It's your decision. You can't blame anyone. I think I was complaining about something that had happened. It's not my fault. They did this, they did that. So they made me do stuff. A reaction, a very angry reaction. And that was maybe when I was 8 years old, 9 years old, when I learned that, oh, wow. So it is in our hands. We can control how we respond. It's just what kind of skill do you need? What kind of tool do you need? But that wolf would take another shape, maybe. The more we grow, the more that wolf would start throwing things at you because he would know your weaknesses. So he would use them against you. So I think the challenge would be to not let it.
Yeah, you know, in order, sometimes, you know, uh, sometimes it's hard, Rahaf, and especially what in some for some people, if they're not, I would say, healthy, right, and sometimes physically healthy, mentally healthy, uh, caring about themselves, right. Um, it's hard for someone to be able to override the negative or that bad wolf, right. We are born with a will, right, with our ability to make a decision, and the more we exercise, the more I exercised my will. I'll go back. I'll tell you something, Rahaf. So I was going back in my 20s at university. I I had I met my sweetheart, my first, let's say, first time I felt, head over heel was when I was at university, graduated in 92, and my sweetheart went down to Puerto Rico to help her family run their business, and I was in the knife business. My first job as the direct sales job. I sold these knives, and I had my own office. I had my own business in Chester County, Pennsylvania. And for 2 years we lived apart. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to actually go down to Puerto Rico where I can get to make it the bridge to Latin America. I'll tell you the story here. I studied international business, and deep inside of me, I'm thinking there's nothing international about being in Chester County, Pennsylvania. I really want to expand. So I have a meeting with the president of the knife company. His name is Albert De Leonardo. I say, Al, wouldn't it be great if we can access a market of 300 million people that know nothing about knives? And he's like, Ramez, what are you thinking? I was like, I go to Puerto Rico, I can build the bilingual, sales force, because I didn't speak Spanish at the time, and then we can then launch them to Mexico, to Latin America. He looked at me, he goes, Ramez, what's your last name? I said, Helou. He said, yeah, it's not Gonzalez and it's not Rodriguez. He's like, he said, do you speak Spanish? I was like, no. He goes, then why on earth do you want to go down to this island where it's not even on the map? I was like, look, my girlfriend is there. My girlfriend is there, and I'm gonna go with or without the knives. I would love it to be the knives, and from there we can expand. He's like, well, say it this way, So here I was, super excited. He gives me a call 2 weeks later. He said, Ramez, okay, it's a green light, you can go, right? And like here, it's your independent contractor. You will have your own independent contractorship there. The biggest challenge was, how do we get the knives to Puerto Rico? There's something called excise tax, etc. They solved something with UPS to collect it up front. Everything was fine. So I called and I celebrate with Elena. I actually went down and we went on the yacht of one of our common friends from university. We had a beautiful time. I'm thinking, this is going to be great. She's excited. I'm excited. I basically ship my car. I sell my office furniture. I hand over the office, and I'm about to fly down to Puerto Rico. She gives me a call the night before, and she calls the house, and my mom answered the phone, and she's like, honey, Elena on the line. And I say, hey, honey, how you doing? Can't wait to see you tomorrow. And she was like quiet. She was like, Ramez. I was like, what, honey? Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. She's like, Ramez, don't come. I'm like, don't come. What do you mean, don't come? I mean, I'm coming tomorrow. I'm gonna, we're gonna be together. She's like, Ramez, don't come. I don't love you anymore. I'm thinking, what? I felt like I'm in a movie. I felt like, these Egyptian soap operas that we saw when I was growing up. It's like, so I'm like, it's like, what? Look, my car is shipped. My office is done. I have nothing here. I said, look, I come, we talk about it. She was supposed to let me stay at their family beach house, and I can commute back and forth. And I remember going down. That was like, so I had her family, her support. Now I am all by myself. I'm like, the first time at age 24, away from my family. I'm in an island. I don't even speak the language. And I tried to have meeting after meeting after, with her parents, with her. She was just, whatever happened at the time, she had met someone and she felt that, maybe I'm too young, although we were the same age. And, it's like, look, I'm not going to marry you now. We're just going to at least be in the same place. But that was that. By the way, we are good friends now. And I remember crying. I remember at that time, being alone, staying. I ended up at one of her friends had an empty apartment. I ended up borrowing it, and I ended up hiring that person to be my guide, my coach. So basically, I remember sitting there, and that one night we were supposed to go on like a dinner anniversary, an anniversary of her family business, and I'm supposed to be with her, and I wasn't with her. And she went out with someone else. And man, I remember, that was maybe one of the first time I cried as an adult, after a long time. It was a really difficult time. But anyway, at one point in time, I had to dust myself up and say, look, there's this very famous quote that says, if Columbus would have turned back, nobody would have blamed him, but nobody would have even remembered him. So I'm thinking, I'm in this island. I came because, look, I had double goal to be with Elena and to do international business. Okay, Elena's not in the picture, fine. Maybe she'll come back, but now I'm here and time is ticking, right? What are you gonna do about it? So I then started going to work. And of course, the more my mind was active, the more my mind was thinking of work, the less I would worry or would be concerned about about that situation. And one of the nicest thing about the island is I actually had an apartment. Now, it was an apartment with no windows. Okay, the only window was in the bathroom. It was a small studio.
Wow.
It was about 100 meters from the beach. I didn't care about the window as long as I could open the door and walk and go to the beach, and then I could run. And in the morning, I remember going and just jumping in this beautiful, Caribbean, waters, very warm, beautiful. And then the waves take you up, take me down, up and down, and then this is where my thoughts start to come, and that was one of the first things is you need you to be happy. You don't need someone else to make you happy. And it was at that, this is where that conditioning, at that one breakup happened, and at that time I healed. It took a while. I ended up healing, and I was busy with my team, with my people, with my hobbies, with tennis, with doing these different things. And sure enough, and I had this, when I'm being me, I attract the right person towards me. And sure enough, things happen, and that's how I actually met my wife at the time. She was one of my salespeople, right? And then surely we were good friends. And then I asked her out, and then I have two beautiful boys. And great, I would say, memories from being in Puerto Rico for 10 years, then coming here, and then, seeing them grow, flourish. I mean, I wouldn't have changed anything. I'm very thankful.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. Well, building your emotional resilience at a very young age and to deal with that rejection is basically one of the reasons why you are now one of the leading authorities on sales leadership. Do you feel that if you haven't been into those two relationships, you wouldn't be here professionally? So now I'm thinking to just talk about how to deal with rejection and how to make it as a redirection. But could you, I don't know, would you be the man you are today if it wasn't for your breakups or heartbreaks?
Of course not. Every interaction, every living moment defines me. I think it defines everyone. And because of my failures in business, because of my failures in sales, when I don't sell, I learn more than when I made a sale. When I go back and I reflect about what went well, what I could have done better, that was something that was conditioned in me to be able to achieve what I had achieved. I'm, there's a plaque behind me that has my name as a member in the Hall of Fame of this knife business. One of few people that have, that have achieved a certain level of sales. And I say it humbly, of course, it took time. It took me 10 years to achieve this Hall of Fame. And it was about consistency. And what I love about this company is they had short-term awards, and then they had long-term awards, like this Hall of Fame, like, geez, to be able to sell $10 million at the time. It was like, and that you don't do it. It's a marathon. So in a way, I was conditioned to be in situations. And it was, so if I were to look at my business life, I would say my failures, because I failed, I know how to rebound. And because I failed, I know how to guide others who are in similar situations. And I would tell people, let success is failure turned inside out. I'm paraphrasing. You see what doesn't work, and failure isn't failure until it's, you call it failure. It's final. Can you take that and do something with it? So from that business conditioning, it's the same that happened in my on a personal level. And of course, the two are me. You cannot take the business Ramez without taking the personal Ramez, and you can't take the personal Ramez without taking the business Ramez, because at the end, I'm the same person here or there. And I actually tell people, I say, it's hard to be a good sales professional by being a bad husband or a bad father or a bad, because at the end, success here is going to bring success there.
Wow, I need like another episode to just talk about that, because you don't see it much here as good examples. You could see a very successful businessman, but as you just said, he could be very bad husband or brother or son or dad. So that was a good catch or a good distinction. So thank you.
At least in my book. At least in my book, Rahaf,
which is a bestseller book. The way I'm listening, as someone who's listening to that story, it is a best-selling book. Like, come on, who wouldn't want both at the same time? Happiness.
Having one without the other is you're limping. Yeah. What flavor would life have if I achieve success on one side but not on the other? And I'd say the one area that success needs to be first is the personal life, is the family life, because all is gone, but who remains are the people that love you and the people that can be there for you. The study about people that have longevity in life, they realize that the people that live longest are those that have, people around them. They have good friends, good family, and at the end, that's the essence of being here, is to make each other better. Amen. So there's a reason for my children are my children, and I would say my goal ever since they were born. All of them is to find what are their talents, what are their passions, and to put them in the paths, to kind of direct them. And then, of course, I direct them in that path, but then I teach them. I'll tell you something. And that was one of the things I would tell my children as they were growing up. I would say, they can make mistakes. The only thing I would come and say, okay, so what did you learn from it? Mm-hmm. What would you do different? Now, at one point in time, when one of them reached like age of, adolescence age, like age 13. And it's like, Papa, stop it. Stop doing this. Yeah, I don't want you to hear. I don't want to know. And then this is something that happened not too long ago. And I just went back. I said, Chris, do you remember you telling me this? He said, no. I was like, what? That was like a big taking a knife and sticking it in my heart to tell me, not to tell you, not to, what did you learn? And he's like, I don't remember that. I'm thinking, wow. So a lot of time kids say things that, hey, parents, kids say things they don't mean. Don't take what they say to heart. But I didn't give up. Even though he said that to me, I would always find a way to keep coming back and say, hey, so what's good about this? What did you learn? What will you change? Now, his younger brother was not as vocal. And when his younger brother, who became an artist and he's studying graphic design, he won a competition. He made a drawing with tea bags. He took tea, he diluted the tea, and he started making different shades, and it was unbelievable. And then he was asked by his teacher to write an essay about it. And he asked me to, Papa, can you just read my essay, give me some feedback? And in the essay, it was the sentence. So I started working on these with these bags, and the first try was very dark. And he said, my father would always ask me, what went well? And what can I do different?
Aww.
And then, of course, he said, I started to realize to make a lighter tone, I have to put the bag less, so not much. But when I read that, and the essay was how he came up with this technique, And it was all about this learning cycle, double loop learning cycle that I had instilled at a very young age in Alex. And today again, I'm very proud of my two boys and my two other ones to come. They are growing and they have good guides, good leaders to learn from as well.
I'm in a very, now I'm just listening with a big smile on my face, and I can see, because a lot of parents, um, when they go, especially single parents, now you're not, but usually when you take on the responsibility to grow your kids, sometimes you would be doing your best, but what's going on, and a mess would then be created. But that was really, and I don't want to say insightful as much as emotional, because you have kind of broken a pattern, which is a generational pattern, on passing on your learnings to your kids, so they won't, not that they will not have mistakes, they will, but when it happens, they would at least know how to approach it. So
Yeah.
we don't see that much. So again, yani, I feel like I've been just thanking you all the episode long, but I really, really, it's from the deepest place of my heart. I wish I had that when I was younger. It's like a shortcut to, you know what, this would help you, and this would improve, it would widen my perspective on seeing things, instead of actually um, going through something that I feel it could be it could have been avoided. So thank you for that. Um, for any man listening right now, and believe me, there will be a lot of men going through what you went through 9 years ago. What would you tell him?
Take it easy on yourself. Take it easy on yourself. In other words, um, we cannot go back to change the past. Of course, work as hard as you can to fix if it's fixable. Uh, and then again, you know, you just gotta take it easy on yourself. It's okay. Uh,
Yeah.
find people that go back to doing things that maybe you enjoyed doing when you were when you were single. Go back connecting with hobbies, connecting with friends. Um, you know, uh, there is a new chapter that you can write. And in my case, 5 years later, um, I met I met a person, and I never thought I would actually fall in love the way that I fell in love again, and and I'm blessed, at age 51 almost. I would say, and having two boys that keep me, two young boys now, they keep me, keep us young. So yeah,
So
I
love
will say,
yourself, have fun, enjoy your time, and be kind to yourself, and have a good support system.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ramis, again for being here on the show. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here
Right. Until next time.
always.